Tonight, Cleo's accused kidnapper moved to a maximum security prison as new details about his doll obsession emerge. Hospitals in crisis already facing record demand with even more pain to come. Border restrictions come down at last as Australia starts to open up. Bali could be next. The state tribute to Bert Newton. First details on how friends and family will celebrate an extraordinary life. A COVID alert from the Melbourne Cup. And a fans test at the MCG as it prepares for big Boxing Day crowds.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell.
Good evening. The man accused of abducting Cleo Smith is tonight in a maximum security facility in Perth. Disturbing details have been revealed about his life and doll obsession before he's accused of kidnapping the 4-year-old girl.
The bandage is gone and the first clear image of 36-year-old Terence Darryl Kelly, manacled hand to foot and under heavy police escort, led to an aircraft for transfer from Carnarvon to Perth. He'd been officially charged overnight with child kidnap and has now been transferred to maximum security.
That's a normal process. He will be transferred to a facility with corrective services.
That as a frightening picture emerges of Kelly through Facebook pages now linked to him, revealing an obsession with children's dolls. Shelves stacked with them, many still boxed, especially the Bratz brand, with some speculating this was where Cleo was kept.
As a detective, I think you'd walk in, look around the room and think, we've got a bit of work to do in front of us.
Police sources confirming the page, now deleted, was his. He called himself Bratz DeLuca, an alpha male and dad. Here he posts, "I love my dolls." The site scrolls through hundreds of pictures of them, with links to more. Posting from a car, "I love taking my dolls for drives around and doing their hair." And here he posts on the dangers of online safety, saying, "One of my girls have had confrontations with boys and man asking for her phone number and photos." Here he posts video of a young girl calling her "my daughter, daddy's girl, my princess." But Kelly had no daughters. It seems he's created an entire family of fake profiles, a fantasy world where he was father to multiple girls. The question now being asked, did Kelly want a real-life doll called Cleo?
Police are obliged to have a very comprehensive, highly detailed look at this man's life going back many years.
Kelly will now be held in isolation, a specialist care cell for his own safety. A figure of intense public interest, police fear he could be at risk from other prisoners and even himself after 2 incidents of self-harm since Wednesday.
We'll put extra security measures for obvious reasons.
While back in Carnarvon,
some more good news for the family, Tam.
Police visit Cleo's home. They will be a regular presence in her life for months to come.
Her evidence is going to be key in understanding what happened over those 18 days.
New CCTV of the moment of Kelly's arrest, police bringing his car to a stop, Kelly pinned to the ground. From the taxi driver who caught this moment.
And they were all surrounding that car on the side of the curb, and we saw one of the detective on top of the guy.
Kelly's next court appearance is another 4 weeks away, December 6, and any eventual trial will be many more months, perhaps even a year. A long lead time for detectives, but it's clear with this case there is a lot to investigate. Chris Reason, 7 News.
And Ben Downey is in Carnarvon this evening. Ben, do we know what police were doing at Cleo's home today?
Yes, Peter, we do. It was some of the lead detectives, including Cameron Blaine, the detective that helped pull Cleo from that home, and they were saying a final farewell. They're on their way back to Perth now, but they wanted to leave this family reassured that if they needed anything at any time, they could lean on the police here. Now, the police had a few other tasks they needed to perform today as well. There were 10 more witnesses that needed to be interviewed, but one of the most important things they were doing was issuing a fresh appeal to the Carnarvon community for more CCTV, more tip-offs that can help catalogue Kelly's movements over the past 3 weeks. Police have already relied on Carnarvon during the search and rescue part of this operation, and it led to Cleo being found safe and alive. Now they're being asked to do the same again, hopefully to provide crucial evidence that can prosecute Kelly through the courts. Peter?
Ben Downey in Carnarvon, thank you. Victoria's health system is in line for an urgent $300 million cash injection. The hospital system is already facing record demand, but we're being warned there's more pain on the way.
Restrictions have eased and our health system is still in deep trouble.
Our health systems have been under pressure like never before.
Between July and September, more than 500,000 Victorians were admitted to hospital, more than 70,000 on the year before. And presentations at our emergency departments have risen by almost 23%.
December is likely to be getting busier. We plan for that. It's going to be tough on our workforce.
Our paramedics are dealing with 2,000 emergency cases a day. Half of them are the most serious, Code 1, and 200 are positive COVID cases.
We're seeing both the increased demand associated with COVID, but also the increased demand associated with delayed care from last year.
Today, we recorded more than 1,300 positive cases. Over 600 people are in hospital, 109 in ICU, and there were 10 deaths. It's hoped $307 million will help ease the pressure.
We will see ongoing demand on our emergency departments, on our intensive care units and on the system.
Our strategy is to keep patients out of hospital. $87 million will help treat COVID cases at home. That will free up 100 public hospital beds, and 150 staff will assess what medical and social supports are needed to aid home-based recovery.
We really want to operate the hospitals at a capacity of about 85%. We've been running closer to 100, 105%.
Ambulance Victoria will receive $40 million. That will put 58 patient transport vehicles on the road and add 200 student paramedics. There are more than 67,000 Victorians on the elective surgery wait list right now. And while the state government says all Category 1 patients are being treated within 30 days, the list is expected to grow by the end of the year.
These are Victorians that need a health system to be operating properly, and it's just not. It's a system in crisis.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
More than 100 workers challenging mandatory vaccination laws have been told they can't keep working while their case is heard. Husband and wife teachers Belinda and Jack Setnar launched the legal action, which now also includes employees in healthcare and construction. The unvaccinated workers wanted permission to return to their jobs, but the judge ruled they must remain off work in line with the Chief Health Officer's orders. Western Australia will reopen its borders when the state hits 90% double vaccinated. That's towards the end of summer. But it's better news for Victorians who have families in New South Wales, with the border now completely open.
The floodgates are open for airport kisses. With border restrictions gone between Victoria and New South Wales.
Hello there!
6-month-old Mila van der Merwe from Sydney today meeting her grandfather at Melbourne Airport.
Yeah, it's been pretty tough. She agrees.
The announcement was made simultaneously last night by the two state governments, removing all remaining restrictions for the fully vaccinated at midnight.
We want to make sure that as we enter summer and the holiday period, that families can get together.
For the first time in more than 6 months, Victoria has declared the rest of Australia a green zone. Quarantine and testing for arrivals here are gone, regardless of vaccination status. But travellers still need a permit to get in.
Should there be an outbreak anywhere, we are able to confidently and quickly trace people.
The economic significance of the announcement shouldn't be underestimated.
It's set to prompt a surge in tourism. Hotels relieved it's in time for summer.
It's a real incentive for travel. Previously, people may have been a bit wary about whether they travel and whether they might get stuck.
Vaccinated Victorians can travel unrestricted into New South Wales unless they've been to local exposure sites. But unvaccinated Victorians over 16 can't holiday there.
Australia is recovering and is emerging from this COVID-19 pandemic.
But it's not a unified border change. Western Australia won't open to Victoria until they're 90% double dosed. That's likely to be February.
We won't be swayed and we won't be pressured into a different approach.
Paul Dowsley joins us now. And Paul, there's fresh hope for travel to one of Australia's favourite getaways.
Yes, Mitch, it's Bali. The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, today said he hopes Australians will be able to travel there again to holiday before Christmas. At the moment, Bali is welcoming people from 19 countries, but Australia is not on the list. In our efforts to get on the list, our PM has spoken with the Indonesian President. A lot of that discussion has come down to trying to reduce the length of time that people will need to stay in quarantine when they arrive in Bali. At the moment, Mitch, it's 5 days. Our PM trying to get that down to as little as possible.
Paul Dowsley at Tullamarine, thank you. A truck driver has died in a fiery crash on the Hume Freeway north of Melbourne. Police suspect the driver lost control with the vehicle rolling before going up in flames around 6:40 this morning. No one else was injured and the crash caused long delays for several hours. The circumstances of the crash are now under investigation. Detectives have charged a man with murder over a stabbing at St Kilda. The 24-year-old victim was attacked while visiting the beach on October the 27th. Police are worried about increasing violence at the popular suburb now lockdown has ended. The accused killer is a 23-year-old Craigieburn man who faced court this afternoon. Details for Bert Newton's state funeral have been announced. Jade Vincent is at St Patrick's Cathedral, and Jade, COVID restrictions mean numbers will be capped.
Yes, Mitch, the cathedral has capacity for at least 2,500 people, but just 500 of Bert Newton's family, friends and colleagues will be able to attend his state funeral here next Friday. The 10 a.m. service will be live streamed and shown on the big screen at Federation Square. We understand that there'll be a big name performance for the entertainment icon, but he's also been described as a man of faith, so there will be a full requiem mass.
Patty and Lauren I think are very keen for it to be a celebration of a husband, a father and a grandfather, a family man, and Bert very much was that. He was, many of us know him, I suppose, as an entertainer and a media personality, but he was first of all a family man. He was a practicing Catholic, and his faith, I think, meant a lot to him.
Paddy has said that Bert, the boy from Fitzroy, would have been thrilled with the state funeral, even if it won't be the turnout that no doubt it could have been. Mitch?
Jade Vincent at St Patrick's Cathedral, thank you. The man accused of raping former Liberal staffer Brittany Higgins has been committed to stand trial. 26-year-old Bruce Lerman has been charged over an alleged incident at Parliament House in 2019. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. He'll appear at the ACT Supreme Court later this month. Detectives are confident they're closing in on solving the mystery of the missing High Country campers. Russell Hill and Carol Clay vanished in March last year. Their Wonnangatta campsite was found burnt out. Police believe someone killed the pair and tried to cover their tracks. The Melbourne Cup has been hit with a COVID scare just before the final day of the Flemington Spring Carnival. Tegan Doling is trackside, and Tegan, 2 COVID positive cases were at Tuesday's Melbourne Cup.
Mitch, that first positive case was a racegoer who was at the deck bar. The second is a contractor who was working in an area called the Arbour. Now, both of those people have been fully vaccinated in those areas, extensively cleaned. The COVID scare won't impact the crowd cap of 10,000 for tomorrow's Stakes Day.
It has been an absolutely useful exercise. This highlights the systems are working and that we can conduct a COVID-safe event here at Flemington and also showcase the operations for other events to follow at other venues.
The VRC says anybody who now may potentially be at risk and may have come into contact with those 2 people will receive a text message, Mitch.
Tegan Doling at Flemington, thank you. And the gates of the MCG have opened to fans for the first time in almost 4 months. Just a trickle turned up for today's cricket, but ground staff are bracing for up to 400,000 across the Boxing Day test.
Music to the ears of cricket connoisseurs.
And to have cricket, it's just fantastic.
Absolutely.
The Victoria-New South Wales match, the first event here since July 11.
Need to see your COVID-19 certificate, thank you.
A tiny crowd of 500, still delays with technology.
With the big crowd on Boxing Day, or it could be very interesting. Members might get angry.
A far cry from today, the MCC anticipates a daily crowd cap of at least 80,000 for the Ashes test.
There's no doubt there's more challenges, but we're getting used to it. I'd rather have a few issues and have 80,000 people here watching a game of cricket.
But Boxing Day will be a turning point.
I just think it's going to be an emotional day for everyone. I think it's going to be a celebration.
With the new WA roadmap, there's doubt Perth can host its test in mid-January.
It's been worked through by health officials, the police and Cricket Australia. As I've said repeatedly, sport is not my number one priority.
So Melbourne is now standing by.
Coincidentally, we put a second wicket in that's looking beautiful, and if Cricket Australia called upon us to host another test match, we're capable and ready.
And Mr Fox is confident by the time we get to the start of the AFL season here, there'll be full capacity crowds.
You know, we couldn't be happier that, we're actually starting to think about full capacities again.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Jordan De Goey has broken his silence. Tim Watson, he's determined to clear his name.
That's right, Mitch. The Pie star is vowing to fight assault charges in New York. Mitch Cleary has tonight's developments. And Mitch, this is the first we've heard from De Goey since his wild night.
Tim, Jordan De Goey is fighting to save his career from Las Vegas tonight. The suspended Collingwood star continues to have his US travels documented on social media, hitting a driving range in Sin City. The 25-year-old had a groping charge dropped but still faces 4 serious charges relating to assault from that wild night out in New York. He's issued a statement tonight via his US attorney who says Mr De Goey intends to vigorously defend himself against these unwarranted charges. There are no current restrictions on his travel. As we go to air tonight, Collingwood is unsure whether De Goey will stay in America or return to Australia ahead of his US court date on December 8. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. And coming up, we'll go one-on-one with Jeff Kennett, who sets the record straight about his exit date from Hawthorn. And England's cricketers are on their way down under for the Ashes. Mitch?
OK, Tim, we'll see you then. Thank you. Desperate bosses are being forced to overpay workers to fill thousands of jobs. The details are next. Also, football commentator Mark Robinson opens up on his brush with death.
Because I couldn't get any breath into my body.
The explosive high-speed crash that has a $20 million sporting star facing life in jail. More storms on the way this weekend. Jane Bunn has the forecast. And later, groceries to your door in 20 minutes. Some hospitality workers are in for big paydays as desperate bosses lure them with extra cash to fill thousands of vacancies. The jobs crisis is showing no signs of easing as Melbourne opens up.
Ahead of its grand reopening tomorrow, Melbourne's most famous face has been given a lift.
It is a very delicate clean. They're using a very soft bristled brush and very soft soap.
But like many of the city's iconic venues, it's facing a job shortage.
It certainly has been more difficult than normal.
It's no different at the Langham Hotel, reopening today after 3 months. Are you looking for staff?
Absolutely, we're hiring. So if you have a passion for hospitality, even if you haven't tried it, we will train you.
It's a call that is echoed across the industry and across the nation.
Now that we're coming out of the other side and so many people onshore have left hospitality and the borders remain shut, we are in the perfect storm.
And it's costing our already struggling businesses.
There are some operators in CBDs that are telling us that they're paying some positions $40 to $50 an hour just to have the positions filled.
The state government says it's invested $11 billion to support Victorian businesses through the pandemic, but the industry says more needs to be done.
I think an immediate solution to this, as far as we're concerned, would be to increase the number of international students allowed back into the country. They're very, very important to hospitality across the board.
The state opposition wants the government to offer sign-up bonuses of up to $1,000 for each new hospitality worker.
If the government actually came to the table and provided sign-on bonuses, it would encourage more people into the sector rather than just encouraging them to move from venue to venue.
If the problem is not solved, everyone who's working in hospitality will be overworked, potentially to the point of leaving the industry.
After 2 years of closures, it hasn't dampened the spirit of an industry on the road to recovery.
We will get past this hurdle and we'll be ready for a summer of fun.
Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
New images reveal the transformation of the city's east as part of the $34 billion suburban rail loop. Major roads in Box Hill will be moved to make way for park and plaza space around the new train station. An environmental effects statement on the 26-kilometre underground tunnel between Cheltenham and Box Hill is now online. The public has until December 16th to make submissions on the plans. A rising American football star is facing decades behind bars after crashing his sports car in Las Vegas while twice the legal limit. New pictures show Henry Ruggs crying while the car he hit burns, with a woman and a dog trapped inside.
As he sat sobbing on the ground, his victim was dying in this fiery wreck.
Yeah, there's somebody in the car.
American football star Henry Ruggs was behind the wheel of his new modified Corvette when he slammed into 23-year-old Tina Tintor, killing her and her dog. Witnesses say she was heard screaming for help but couldn't escape. Ruggs, a first-round NFL draft pick with the Las Vegas Raiders, was clocked at 250 kilometres an hour before the crash.
I would note that in my 24-plus years of prosecuting vehicular crimes, that is the highest speed I have ever heard of.
After a night of Topgolf with his girlfriend, Ruggs was drunk behind the wheel, prosecutors say, and carrying an illegal loaded gun.
There's ride sharing. There's a designated driver. There's a taxi. There's so many alternatives. But Mr. Ruggs made a choice, and he's going to have to live with the consequences.
That choice cost a woman her life. It cost him a $16 million football contract and his freedom, now facing up to 46 years in prison.
Slow down! Slow down! Slow down! Slow down!
In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
It sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie, but NASA is planning to crash a spacecraft into an asteroid to test our planetary defences. It'll launch a shuttle and collide head-on with its target at a speed of 24,000 kilometres per hour. But NASA's not aiming to destroy the asteroid, just knock it off its course. It's hoping the project will help us if the Earth ever comes under threat. Football reporter Mark Robinson has opened up on his shock health fight. The Herald Sun writer suffered 2 medical episodes in July before undergoing emergency open heart surgery.
I couldn't breathe. I was breathing like this. I kicked off a sequence of events, which ended up at me walking to Goldfields Medical Centre, and I walked in, I said, "Hello, I'm in trouble," and burst into tears.
Robinson says he still gets emotional thinking about it. His full story will be in the Herald Sun's V magazine tomorrow. Jane Bunn joins us now. Jane, it turned into an absolutely delightful afternoon.
Mitch, if you've been stuck inside all day, head out there. It is lovely and staying that way tonight. Now, the morning was certainly gloomy. Humidity was building, bringing a sheet of misty grey. That all cleared out for the afternoon. At times, barely a cloud in the sky. It rose to a top of 23. If you look at the horizon, there is a field of towering cumulus. That is showers and thunderstorms on the ranges. Now, this time tomorrow, they will be a lot closer. I'll have the full details after sport, Mitch.
See you then. Thank you, Jane. It's not the news mortgage holders want to hear, but interest rates are on the way up as the banks start to move on home loans. Also, storms deliver a bitter blow for Melburnians looking for a getaway. A treat for stargazers, a magical display in the southern skies. And it's been 40 years in the making, but ABBA's new album is out. Was it worth the wait? Home loan interest rates are heading up, with the Commonwealth Bank following Westpac's lead by raising the rate of fixed loans. CBA's one-year fixed loan is up 0.35% to 2.34. The RBA is now tipped to lift interest rates sometime next year. It's a second year of disappointment for holidaymakers planning on spending summer on the Mornington Peninsula foreshore. While COVID closed the much-loved campsite last year, a massive storm cleanup is throwing Christmas plans into chaos.
For Pam and Bill Thompson, Christmas means camping.
We've been camping in Section 5 for 45 years.
But the tradition looks unlikely for the second year in a row, with downed trees and power lines from last week's storm closing campsites across the peninsula.
A lot of the campers will be very, very upset, but these trees down here are very unsafe. We're disappointed, but we support the council's decisions to keep campers safe.
Thursday's storm hit the peninsula with gusts of up to 135 kilometres per hour. And since then, the SES has received almost 10,000 calls for assistance, 7,000 of those for fallen trees. Mayor Despy O'Connor says the clean-up could take up to 2 months.
At the moment, we haven't had any deaths through this storm or in the clean-up afterwards, and I'd hate to think that something like that could happen because we opened too early.
But while the sites have been closed in the name of community safety, it's left some traders feeling forgotten.
It's thousands of extra people, yeah. It's detrimental to the local economy as well.
This is just one of those things that no one had any control over.
The clean-up could take up to 8 weeks, but the Shire hopes to have most sites open by December 18. That way campers can at least spend Christmas by the beach.
We will open staggered if we are able.
Bill and Pam looking forward to a Christmas out of lockdown, whether they're camping or not.
We'll be able to learn to get along with people again.
Estelle Grieping, 7 News.
Done.
Melbourne researchers are calling for caution before we give COVID vaccinations to children. US health officials have given Pfizer the final sign-off for children aged under 12. But the Murdoch Children's Research Institute says more testing is needed before it gets the green light in Australia.
The vaccine produces a good immune response and is well tolerated in this age group. But a few thousand children is not enough to detect any rare side effects. And we really need to be sure.
It's expected those further tests will take another few weeks. Britain has become the first country in the world to approve a pill to fight COVID. Australia already has 300,000 doses on the way, but doctors are warning it's not a magic bullet.
It's a little red pill that could make a massive difference. Molnupiravir, developed by US pharmaceutical giant Merck, stops the virus replicating by rewriting its genetic code, so sufferers are less likely to pass COVID on. Their chances of hospitalisation and death slashed by 50%.
And in a study of 775 people, there were 8 deaths in the placebo arm who didn't get the treatment and no deaths among the people who did get the treatment. That really is potentially very good news.
As long as it's taken within 5 days of the onset of symptoms. Doctors say the sooner the better. Anne-Marie tested positive earlier this week. She'll be taking Molnupiravir twice a day for 5 days.
This will reduce my symptoms. Hopefully, therefore, the infection will not take a hold on my chest and I won't end up in hospital.
It is not a magic bullet, and this is very important to emphasise. It is one additional tool in the fight against COVID-19 disease.
Along with vaccinations. Australian regulators are yet to approve the drug. It's unclear exactly how and when the antiviral will be rolled out here, but the UK has bought nearly 500,000 courses of the drug, hoping to prevent what could be another difficult winter. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
They swore they'd never perform live again, but that doesn't mean ABBA stopped making music. They've released a new album almost 4 decades after their last one.
So long without them, would the sequel be as good as the original?
Just an ocean that
10 songs on ABBA's new album Voyage. One's called Little Things, and it could be a big Christmas hit.
As a brand new day is dawning on this lovely Christmas morning.
This album came together while the group planned a series of virtual concerts in London next year. The legendary four, now in their 70s, recording clips for the show using bodysuits.
But in fact they're using holograms or avatars, as they've been dubbed. Be a live band, and they'll do a lot of the old music, they'll do the new music as well.
Like their previous work, Benny and Bjorn write the songs. On this album, they leave Annafred and Agnetha to sing. Rolling Stone says it combines two of the 70s hottest trends, heartbreak and sequin-studded pantsuits. Their older songs continue to be hits. Footy players among many getting on the remixed ABBA train.
I can't imagine that there's going to be a big call from young kids for the ABBA music. I think it is people wanting to go and revisit those happy times gone by.
But surely diehard fans thank them for the music again. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Nothing like a bit of nostalgia. Stargazers were in for a treat last night in Victoria and Tasmania. Aurora Australis, also known as the Southern Lights, put on a spectacular show. It was the most vivid display in years, with ribbons of green, yellow, orange and red. It happens when charged particles from the sun bombard atoms in the Earth's upper atmosphere. The energy causes a reaction and the atoms release a photon, which we see as light. There's another option in the booming grocery delivery market, with a new starter promising to drop online orders at your door in less than 20 minutes. Also coming up, a holiday plea to Victorians planning a summer break. And what caused an electric bike to go up in flames? Had a win. The High Court dismissed an appeal by the company to overturn a landmark ruling on its faulty pelvic implants. Last year, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $2.6 million in damages to 3 women who suffered serious health complications. The court ruled the synthetic mesh should never have been sold in Australia. A new campaign is urging Victorians to holiday at home this summer. The tourism industry wants Australians to travel here, not overseas. Now life is getting back to normal.
International travel is finally within arm's reach, but Victorians are being reminded there's still plenty to see in our own backyard.
What if the gift everyone needs this year, it's not a thing, but it's out there?
Out where?
No, out there in Australia.
Tourism Australia's latest campaign is encouraging all of us to ditch tangible presents under this year's Christmas tree and instead gift a travel experience to help our struggling operators.
How about a boat ride that he'll never forget?
Like a cruise?
Yeah, something like that.
Instead of giving socks this Christmas, give a surfing lesson, or instead of giving chocolates, give a gourmet travel class.
The average Aussie spends close to $800 on Christmas gifts, equating to around $16 billion nationwide.
If just a fraction went to the tourism industry, that would be a much needed boost.
The hotels are, in full gear, our hospitality sector, our attraction sector. It's all about getting that demand and getting visitors to come back again.
Our sunburnt country promising to be
the best gift shop in the world.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
There was an unusual sight along the banks of the Yarra as workers planted a giant palm tree. They're fixing the lawn area, which had been dug up as part of the Metro Tunnel project. The area is directly above twin rail tunnels. Australia's first digital supermarket has arrived in Melbourne, delivering groceries to your door in under 20 minutes. Demand for click and collect and home delivery has soared during the pandemic, and the convenience is changing the way customers shop.
Pantry staples on demand, delivered straight to your door in less than 20 minutes.
Basically, you can buy anything ranging from your pasta, chocolates, ice cream, fresh produce.
From missing ingredients to late night snacks to a full shop, Geezy Go now delivers big brands at supermarket prices across 20 Melbourne suburbs after launching in Sydney 3 months ago. There's no minimum spend and delivery costs just $3.99.
You could have the cheapest prices unless you've got home deliveries and they're done rapidly
you lose.
The demand for convenience and contactless collection is becoming big business for the major supermarkets. Coles online sales grew 52% to $2 billion in the last financial year. The supermarket giant offers free click and collect, rapid collection for $5 and home delivery for $2. Woolworths online sales grew by 75% to $3.5 billion. Click and collect is also free. Their delivery costs are part of a $15 per month subscription or free if the order is over $300.
At the moment, less than 10% of all sales are online.
We think moving forward we're going to see customers choosing to shop both online and in-store.
For smaller grocery delivery companies, the biggest challenge is processing the weekly shop and delivering it in under 20 minutes. On average, Australian households shop once a week, spending $159 at supermarkets.
This is where the future is going because people want groceries at demand.
Georgia Common-Solly, 7 News.
An e-bike burst into flames outside an apartment block in Sydney last night, giving residents a start. Drivers had to carefully navigate around the burning bike before firefighters arrived to put out the blaze and remove its lithium battery. No one was injured. A rare six-wheel drive has caught the attention of highway patrol officers in Queensland. A driver with one hand on the wheel and the other hand out this window, bringing the bicycle along for a ride.
It's pulled you over because obviously you can't do that. Yeah, my silly idea.
The 30-year-old driver did receive a fine. Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, it's wheels up for England ahead of the Ashes.
It is, Mitch. England players are in the air heading down under. Coming up, we'll explain what sort of a welcome they'll get when they land as an Ashes smoky emerges at the MCG. Plus, we go one-on-one with Jeff Kennett to find out once and for all just when he plans to leave the nest. Also, why Collingwood fans are off to the polls, and a piece of racing history up for grabs on Stakes Day. Welcome back. The English cricketers are tonight on their way to Australia to quarantine on the Gold Coast ahead of the first Ashes test. On the other side of the world, Australia's T20 World Cup campaign is back on track in a big way.
In just 33 days, Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad will be charging in with the new ball at the Gabba. They'll arrive tomorrow morning on the Gold Coast as the Ashes prep gets serious. The bulk of Australia's squad in the UAE at the T20 World Cup, as Captain Tim Payne recovers from neck surgery.
I had a bit of a dive around yesterday, so I'm a little bit stiff today. Had a few months off. I've pulled up a little bit sore.
The Aussies breathed life back into their T20 campaign after demolishing Bangladesh.
That is a sparkling performance by the Australians. They've romped home.
Beat the West Indies on Saturday night and they're through to the semi-finals. Adam Zampa claiming 5 for 19 and agonisingly close to a hat-trick.
Yeah, I tried to catch it. Never got a hat-trick, still haven't got one, but I can't really blame Wadey too much. He's been taking some beautiful catches.
Aaron Finch gaining some much-needed time in the middle.
When you're coming off an injury or you're coming back off any kind of layoff, it can take a little bit of time to get back up to speed, but I feel like I'm playing reasonably well.
At the MCG, Nick Maddinson continues to loom as an Ashes smoky. A century against New South Wales has him in the frame for a test recall. Marcus Harris lasted just 14 deliveries. Victoria in a dominant position at stumps on day one as James Seymour notched up his maiden first-class ton. Laura Spurway, 7 News.
Alistair Clarkson's Hawthorn exit was choppy, but Jeff Kennett says his departure will be smooth sailing. Speaking one-on-one with 7 News, Kennett clarified confusion about just when his reign will come to an end.
It's virtually a guarantee. Jeff Kennett will leave after they identify a suitable replacement, likely to be just after June next year.
Then I will give consideration to my term, and I hope that we can have an easy transfer of the baton fairly quickly after that. It's a perfect time for me to move on. And can I just say, I'm such a young man. I've got so much to do with my life.
An hour before, Kennett hinted he might see out his full term.
You could potentially go through till the end of 2023.
Oh, I could, without a doubt. But I hope that's not the case.
Sources saying his future as president was decided at a dramatic board meeting on Wednesday.
We've been going through this process for some time. The question was how best to do it.
Alistair Clarkson's costly exit created momentum for change at the top.
When the board decided that we wouldn't extend Alistair's term, that led to a lot of emotion, which I understand, but it was the right decision.
The colourful president marking their controversial trade period and his presidency a success.
There's a saying in life, Tom, that you ought to get out when you're at the top. And in terms of the organisation of the club, we're at the top.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Collingwood members are heading to the polls, returning to Mitch Cleary now. Mitch, Jeff Brown's path to the presidency is a step closer.
Tim, it's official. Collingwood's first election to decide a new president in more than 20 years. 4 of the 7 board seats are up for grabs ahead of next month's AGM. The club receiving 11 nominations at the deadline last night, including Victorian Racing Club chairman Neil Wilson, who is seeking to be re-elected, having been a non-voting member this year. Mark Corder will step down as president but stay on the board. Jeff Brown likely and the strong favourite to come in and assume the top job. He's hoping to come in on a 4-person ticket alongside current director Christine Holgate, Barry Karp and Renee Roberts. The decision now in the hands of members. Voting will commence on November 19. The new board's first job likely to revolve around a decision on Jordan De Goey's future. In AFLW, the first player has opted out of the game due to their vaccination stance. Adelaide Premiership player Denny Van Hagen, who's also worked as an ICU nurse, has told the Crows she doesn't want to be vaccinated and has since been placed today on the inactive list. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. Melbourne Cup winners James McDonald and Chris Waller will be rivals in tomorrow's $2 million McKinnon Stakes, with McDonald set to jump aboard Zaki. The Annabelle Newsham-trained horse was scratched the morning of the Cox Plate earlier this spring.
He looked as well as I've ever seen him look, and I'm hopeful that he's going to bounce back and run a big race tomorrow.
McDonald needs just 2 victories at Flemington tomorrow to become the first jockey to post 10 winners during a Cup Carnival. And we end sport on a sad note tonight following the death of South Australian football legend Russell Ebert at the age of 72. The Port Adelaide great passed away peacefully this afternoon after a long battle with leukaemia. Ebert won 4 Magarey medals and is a member of the Australian Football Hall of Fame. Mitch, he was a giant of the game.
Yes, a massive name in Adelaide and a great player, wasn't he?
Nice fellow too.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, how does the weekend look?
Well, Mitch, Saturday is almost 10 degrees warmer than Sunday, and there's the risk of a thunderstorm. The full details are next. Hello again. Humid air has returned, making it feel warmer. Misty morning cloud cleared to plenty of sunshine, with showers only about outer northeastern suburbs. The city reached 23, while it was as high as 26 away from the bay. Now we are still up on 22, with a warm and dry evening ahead. Far eastern Victoria is still covered in cloud from the rain that is falling further north. Cloud cleared the southwest of the state, then a field of cumulus popped up. Now in there are showers and thunderstorms in the east. They are mainly along the ranges in through here. They're just out of Melbourne. A warm afternoon, humid in the south and east. A trough is producing wet weather that stretches from Tasmania right up into Queensland, while a high that is just to our southeast here is making it warm and humid. Next, we look westwards. A new trough and cold front will move through here later tomorrow. The storms die down as the sun sets. There they go. It should be quite dry statewide overnight. Then on a warm and humid Saturday, storms pop up in the northeast first, ahead of widespread wet weather in the afternoon and evening, and that continues into Sunday. Now that begins in Melbourne late Saturday afternoon. That's our next big change in the weather. We'll go from feeling like Queensland in warm and humid air to a sharp cold change shown here in green. Melbourne 26 on Saturday, only 17 on Sunday. And it doesn't really warm up again in the outlook, so enjoy the warmth while we have it. Around the nation tomorrow, mostly dry in Brisbane and Sydney. An afternoon shower or storm mainly in the west. It's 25 in Hobart tomorrow before a change later. Adelaide has showers and the risk of thunderstorms. Perth dry and mild. To Victoria, there are areas of fog at first. Showers and thunderstorms pop up on the northeast ranges, then they become widespread for the afternoon and evening. Showers and possibly severe thunderstorms on a warm and humid day. Then when that cold front passes through, there it goes, it turns cold. Closer in, we have warm and muggy sunshine. Tomorrow is a cracker in a breezy to strong northerly wind. But it rapidly deteriorates mid-afternoon. Watch that blue come in. Widespread showers and the risk of thunderstorms. That's late afternoon and at night. The city is a warm, windy and humid 26. Dry for much of the day, but showers and thunderstorms are likely late afternoon at night. Thunderstorms, yes, but not the ferocious winds of last week. To the 8-day outlook, it turns cold overnight. So Sunday, it's just 17 and there's really nothing warm in the outlook at all. So on Sunday, still showers moving through in the morning. It should be dry in the afternoon, but fairly cloudy. And there's a fair bit of cloud during the week to 18, mostly cloudy Monday. Tuesday, 19, a bit of sunshine returns. The chance of showers later, most of those Wednesday and then again on Friday. Thursday looks pretty nice at this stage. So it is a warm, windy and humid 26 tomorrow, but that is ahead of late showers and thunderstorms, probably after 3 p.m. tomorrow, Mitch.
Just one question. Where do our 20s go after tomorrow?
They disappear once that cold front moves through. So they'll probably return the week after that.
They'd have to be. Thank you.
But nothing next week.
Thank you, Jane. And that's the way it is this Friday, the 5th of November. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.